Hey everybody, my name is Justin.
And I'm Michelle.
We are from the LARAEC office. First, we want to say thank you so much for acknowledging our program. Michelle and I are advisors in the LARAEC office. We do a lot of looking at data. One of the things we do to support the annual and 3-year plan is do staff and student surveys. This last time when we did our surveys, there was some data that really jumped out at us.
Yeah, one of the items that jumped out was we had over 90% of our staff in the survey said that we would like more support in connecting students with support services. They said that that was a priority for them. And we're looking at also how can we better connect our students to counselors. We had 40% of our teachers say they'd like to do a better job with that. On the student side, our student survey said that 40% of our students indicated that they would like to have more support services. And then oddly enough, but only 7% of students indicated that they access any of the support services.
Yeah, and I think what we found was also interesting was those students that accessed the support services were really, really satisfied with those support services. And I think I can speak for Michelle here. We do a lot of talking in the office about how we can take this abstraction that is the consortium and really turn it into something that's practical, that can support the goals of school sites and classrooms.
And much of the work that we do at the LARAEC office focuses on district level professional development. We do a lot of staff professional development as well, but we haven't really done a whole lot of student directed things. And we started looking at how can we take a successful program like our Lunch with LARAEC and our online conferences, and how can we take that same model and apply that to our students to address this issue of connecting students with support services.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are things that the consortium can do that are really unique that a classroom teacher or a school site isn't able to do. And we know as teachers, we really care about our students, and a lot of what we do is about adding value to the classroom. So as a classroom teacher, I might have a speaker that I really want to share with my class, or there might be somebody at the school site that's tasked with bringing a speaker in for an assembly. But what doesn't happen is the ability to harness the power of a subject matter expert that might exist within our consortium and be able to roll him out so that all of the teachers, all of the classrooms, all of the students have access to that subject matter expert and that information.
And this is where our Student Connect webinar series was kind of born, in this idea of how can we roll that out to everyone. And so really how it looks is that, we do the webinar series, we do it on Zoom, and then we have it broadcast onto teachers' screens in their rooms. They have projectors in there. And then the teachers bring their entire class to like an assembly, or they have the speaker come right into their classroom via Zoom. And it's very exciting because then you don't have the speaker just going to that one class. You have that speaker going to, 100 classes at once.
Yeah, and it's not, like you said, all the classrooms, but it's not just classrooms, right? There are those students that study independently,
the
right?
Independent study students, people that are at work, people who are at home. And what was important to us is really creating an event that didn't feel like you were just watching somebody far away like on television, that it had some interactive to it. And so we have those chat boxes open. The teacher has the ability, to ask the students the questions that we're asking and type in their answers and be a little bit more interactive with it was our goal.
Yeah, and I think dovetailing off that also is this idea of access. One of the things that we really wanted to make sure that we did was to not be gatekeepers to attend the event, but to really open it up in terms of QR codes, links, to make the event as accessible to everybody.
Yeah, the intent was to have it be one click and you're in. So we don't have, registrations and logins or anything. It is, here's the code, click and you're in for a student. We also made it very easy for teachers to bring their class. Just let us know you're coming, you register your whole class all together at once. But very, very simple to participate. Yep. We also made sure it was translated into Spanish simultaneously, so you can listen to either channel. Students can use their cell phones, they can attend with their class.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing that I think we were really sensitive to were, teachers are really busy and they're being asked to do more than ever before. And we wanted this event to support what they're doing in their classroom and not supplant. We didn't want teachers to feel like, oh my gosh, this is going to take up my whole lesson plan. So the Connect webinar was really limited to 30 minutes. We did it once in the morning and once in the evening. We do know that those student populations are distinctly different. So we wanted to make sure that everybody had a chance to participate, and the teachers felt that it was doable. They could show up, they could participate, and then they could move on with their lesson plan.
Yeah, and that was kind of that structure that we were creating at the consortium office, and then we married that with one of our action planning teams, the special populations action planning team. And our action planning teams are groups that kind of take over as doing the work of the getting the annual plan and the 3-year plan activities completed. So we have inter-district action planning teams.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are very fortunate that we have two superstars as our co-chairs on our action planning teams. They were really the driving force to really create this first event for us. Instead of us talking about them, we want you to hear directly from them about the event. So I just want to turn it over really quickly to Dr. Christy Dam from Los Angeles Community College District and Sandra Lopez Orozco from Los Angeles Unified School District, DACE.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Justin. Sandra, did you want me to share out first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so hi everyone. First, I'd like to also thank Justin and Michelle for this opportunity and for the folks at CAPE. This is my first time actually participating in LARAEC, my first time participating in APT action planning team, as well as being part of this whole process, and I've learned a lot. So I'd first like to say that I think part of the success, a huge part of the success, was that we had LARAEC as the foundation to be able to help guide us in terms of what this project was going to look like. As a newbie, coming on board, not knowing what to expect, and representing the LA Community College District, I definitely wanted to be sure that we were able to provide what it was needed in terms of our resources and support for our community, our students that we all serve. So with that, when the action planning team first started, Justin and Michelle were extremely engaging. Let me just say that first meeting really caught my eye. I definitely wanted to be part of this team. I wanted to be able to work with them and to be able to contribute as best that I can. In doing so, we were asked to volunteer to see if any of us would be interested in participating. And of course, I saw that Sandra, being the great mind that she was at that first meeting and being so knowledgeable, I was like, I definitely want to work with this person. So I participated. I volunteered to be the co-chair as well. And through that, we were able to really collaborate. We pooled our resources within the community college system, within LAUSD, and even with other unified school districts, neighboring USD folks to participate as well, other counselors, other teachers who were also part of our action planning team for the special populations group. So with that, I think collaboratively, we put out extra time to be able to meet. In addition to the APT scheduled meetings that were already on record that we were expected to meet, we actually agreed to meet separately in addition to those times so that we could really create some sort of learning environment for both our faculty and our students who would be participating. Sandra?
Yeah, I think I agree with you. This is also my first time working with LARAEC and being part of APT special populations. My background is mostly working with students with disabilities. So it was really great to come together with LARAEC and with other districts like LACC, and I think it was Culver City, and I forget Montebello. Yeah, we had a lot of participations from different teachers from different districts. So that was really great to have that community and also to start working on something that is going to bring information that is impactful for our students. A lot of the things that we focused on was specifically and how do we support our students currently and then prepare them for whatever future need they may have. Given our background, it was really great to see all the resources that we could find and then put them on the platform that LARAEC provided to us, because None of this would have been successful had we not had the range that we did in being able to access all those classrooms, all those students that were already registered, for them to actually get this information. Because without that, I felt like none of this information would have made it out the door. So I really want to thank LARAEC for that. I want to thank Justin and Michelle for guiding us through this, because we were just like, what is this? And how do we come together? And I felt like with their guidance, like Christy mentioned, we were able to really collaborate in a positive way and actually efficiently, because I feel like we did so much with little time. And I think it came down to, having a really great co-chair, Christy, your organization skills are really good. And people that actually cared, people did show up to the meetings, they provided resources, they added their own ideas of how we can make this happen. And so I felt like that that work is what made our presentation as successful as it was. So I'm really happy that it was, selected to win this great honor, and I'm really happy to be here and to talk to you about it.
Thank you, Sandra. So to add to what Justin was sharing earlier and how, there was really this marriage of our LARAEC's 3-year plan, the marriage of using data, student surveys, faculty surveys. We took that data to really drive the content that we wanted to share with our participants and those who were going to engage in our sessions. Based on their survey data, students have indicated that there were very specific barriers that prevented them from completing their programs or from succeeding in their classes, even from retention, right? Being able to start and finish. Faculty and staff, based on survey data, also mentioned that, there were certain barriers that they actually saw their students experiencing in their classes themselves based on conversation. So with that knowledge and with the data and with, our goal of what LARAEC's plan was for our population and groups that we were supporting, we created the Student Connect webinar to deliver the information that students would need to overcome those barriers. Certain barriers that, were identified was that a lot of students had food insecurity issues. There were unemployment concerns. There were concerns with mental health issues. So all of these things we took into consideration to be able to provide those resources. We provided resources, from community-based organizations. We provided resources that, Sandra and other Unified School District counselors normally share. And then we even provided resources within the LA Community College District. So, we wanted all of our adult students to be able to access in resources, whether they were tapped into the community college system, whether they were tapped into the adult ed courses. And we based the content of information that we shared from the survey data, what our teachers have indicated they needed support and information with, what our students identified as barriers to succeeding. And in doing that, earlier, I think Justin mentioned also that we had a translator, a live session translator. We wanted to ensure that everybody who was participating was able to access the information. In addition to having a translator, we also provided all the resource links. And as Justin and Michelle said, we definitely made use of the QR code. So not just having the QR code to log in, but as they logged in, there was also a QR code on screen that they can use to visibly follow the presentation as we were moving through the slides. So it was very interactive. The last thing we did was that we wanted to couch the presentation in a way that was very engaging for students. We didn't want to deliver kind of like a speech, like where we were just a presenter without having the audience engage. So we had engagement in the chat, we answered questions live in the chat box. We also had students engage through questions, right? We asked questions throughout the presentation and students were able to type in their answers. And then lastly, I think we were able to create a narrative. So in our presentation, we provided two fictitious stories of two adult learners who identified with various barriers that we felt aligned with what our students also identified with. And from that, we wanted to draw out our student and be able to engage them so that they can see themselves in the characters that we were speaking about as we navigated the resources. Sandra, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, and I think additionally to that, because we wanted to make it more tangible, we created a brochure that we shared with all of the students. We put it in the chat for the teachers to be able to access and download and distribute to their classrooms. And we even in the Student Connect webinar, it's still attached with the PowerPoint too. So anytime anyone wants to revisit that, they can go to the Student Connect webinar at the LARAEC and then be able to see the presentation again and access the brochure that everybody found useful in terms of the information that we put there, because it is a lot and we didn't want to focus our case study on a lot of resources. That's why we tailored it based on a case study, but we did add those additional resources to have on hand so the teachers can just reference that anytime that they feel a student in their class may need one or the other resource. So I felt it was important to put that together as a way to tie in the knot, as our presentation was to answer those questions and access those issues that they wanted us to talk about. So
Yeah. Absolutely. And, you know, and listening to you guys, you know, it allows us to kind of go back down memory lane and remember how full that presentation was and how intentional it was. And I know on the back end, Michelle and I talked about wanting to make sure that we surveyed participants just to get a sample of what their user experience was so we could take a look at data. And we thought it was really interesting what we got out of that data.
Yeah, and so you know, we had about 900 students register for the event, but we had over 1,300 show up for the event. We were just as well attended in the morning as in the evening. 40% of those students attended with their class, with their teacher. 25% of those students that participated used the language translation. And then I believe 90% of the people who were surveyed said that they would like more events like this, which is great.
Which is good because they're going to get more.
We're going to get more. And then, yeah.
Sorry, I totally interrupted you. Yeah, so just as an aside, we are going to continue these events because as Christy and Sandra laid that groundwork, we're going to do one in the fall and one in the spring for those high priority topic areas of renters' rights, tenants' rights, as well as entrepreneurship, which in our consortium is a big deal.
Yeah, and some of the feedback that we got from staff was that they really appreciated this content because it allowed them to support students and help them with some of these barriers when they don't really have those resources that they need. And then I loved hearing teachers comment that students texted them and said, "Hey, I'm at work, but I was so excited about what I heard. Thank you so much for letting me attend that webinar." And then I think it was Sandra was sharing with me too that right after the event let out, a whole flood of students went to some counselor's office going, "How do I sign up for this?" And I'm like, it was a big breakdown for that counselor, but I think that was a huge win for this type of event, that it can cause that kind of rush to a counselor.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the great things about this kind of event, whether you're a large consortium like we are, or you're a smaller consortium, this is an event that really anybody can do.
Anybody can. Super low tech, super low cost. All it is Zoom. You got to, make sure you get some high quality content that is of interest to students. But essentially, most of our time was spent just doing outreach to teachers, having teachers really get the possibility of what this program can provide, the value of it in their class, that it was only going to take up a small bit of their class, how to integrate it into their lesson plan for the day. I mean, we spent most of our time just doing that outreach part, but in terms of like production, it's Zoom. Everybody has Zoom.
That's absolutely true. And so what it does for us, as I referenced a little bit out of order, was it allows us moving forward to put this in place so that we have that connectivity to the classroom, that LARAEC is no longer just an abstraction. It really is something that provides quality content into classrooms.
Yep. And if you want to see this particular session, our first inaugural session, it's on whatsnext.la. Whatsnext.la is our website. It'll link you to our student page. You can find the video, the brochure. And then also, if you're anywhere in the Los Angeles area, lots of these resources are Los Angeles resources. So it doesn't matter if you're in LAUSD or LACCD. If you find these events will be valuable for your students, you're welcome to join our Student Connect webinar series.
And I'm sorry, Michelle, I totally wasn't listening to you. What was that website?
Whatsnext.la.
Did you say whatsnext.la?
Indeed.
He did.
I
Very
think
good.
we're done.
I think we are too. So before we go, just want to shout out again to Christy, Sandra. Thank you so much for an awesome job.
And to your whole team. I know you were here, but your whole
That's
team
true.
was valuable to this.
Absolutely great, Ed. Yeah, you guys were awesome. Also wanted to do a shout out to our point persons who help us do the heavy lifting as well. Our executive board for LARAEC, who make everything possible, and for having the most awesome, is awesomest a word? The most awesome member districts a consortium can have. So thank you so much, guys. Again, we really appreciate you acknowledging our program.